I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and we've been reviewing a lot of Android phones this year. We've reviewed 4G LTE phones, mid-range phones, high-end phones, and more. But the Mac Daddy is in the house. Let's take a look at the Samsung Galaxy Nexus and the full review, which starts right now. Part 2 of this video, we're going to find out if this device is really consumer friendly, because let's be honest, if you're watching this video, you're probably like me. You're probably a nerd, you like to tinker with your device, play around with it, maybe root it, hack it, mod it, whatever, but this is coming to Verizon in subsidized form in a few weeks, and the question is this device consumer friendly versus something like, something with Sense or TouchWiz or with a manufacturer installed UI. But before we get into that, special love to Best Buy. When you go into Best Buy Mobile, you won't deal with rebates. You walk out the door paying that after rebate price on the Galaxy Nexus or whatever it is you decide to get. So that's pretty cool at Best Buy Mobile. Let's take a look here directly into the browser, and there's so much to cover in part 2, so I apologize if you hate the fact that I move quickly. Typically, well, it's probably going to be worse in this video, but you can see here ice cream sandwich. A lot of the revisions, again, take a look here at the black color scheme, the different font scheme. You can really see the changes that are evident all throughout ice cream sandwiches, and some changes over here with tabs, with the settings. And then, of course, like I said, your on-screen buttons down here at the bottom. So PhoneDog's loading up. We'll take a look, and it's fully loaded now. First of all, before I do the pinch to zoom test, take a look at the tabs. I can add a second tab, and it's a really nice integration, really clean integration for stock Android. And I can just keep adding tabs if I want to. I can go back here and scroll back through those tabs. Go back to PhoneDog, and you can see it shows right there. And then pinch to zoom. So pinch to zoom is relatively responsive. I don't see a huge amount of lag. I have seen some lag from time to time in programs, particularly when there's a lot running in the background. That's something to keep in mind. So I kind of wonder, maybe they shouldn't have gone with the OMAP. I was a little surprised that they went with TI OMAP as opposed to maybe Exynos or something that's tried and true. And I mean, the developer community just loves the Samsung Exynos processor. So I'm a little surprised they didn't pull that one over from the Galaxy S2 line. But you can see the gallery I just put up. Captivate Glide early review, for example, so we can click on that and you can see it loads up. So in landscape it looks great as well, because again you're working with a 4.65 inch Super AMOLED 720p True HD display with pin tile. Now the question I get asked pretty frequently, or at least since I've gotten the device, is the pin tile noticeable? This is the first device where I really don't notice the pin tile. It was definitely close on the Droid Razr. I could see it a little bit if I tried hard. But with this one, I don't notice it at all. I mean, there is a little bit of a display issue when it's in a low lit. I have the display turned up to full brightness right now, so you're seeing it, pretty well on video. When you get into low lit situations, and I've seen a couple of other reviewers point this out, I've had the same problem. It almost seems kind of grainy, or like, just something's different with the color. It's fully bright right now, but you'll notice some grain and some kind of background noise, if you will, to the whites, particularly when you're dealing with a straight white screen like this. You'll see some background noise. So I was a little disappointed to see that, but otherwise, a beautiful display. That said, I have had to turn off the auto brightness because it's just weird right now. I don't know if it's a software thing, but it doesn't seem to compute properly between when it's light and when it's not. It just doesn't seem like it's working well. So hopefully in a software update they'll fix that. I have had some issues with that. So back out of browser really quickly, and I wanted to show you some of the wallpaper. I'm just going to run through everything here. Some of the wallpapers that come with the device out of the box, and we'll go ahead and change one of those over, because these are a lot of things I get asked and I just usually don't have time, but we're going to try and run through all of those. So like the icons and the widgets up here, the ones at the bottom can be customized as well. So if you don't want browser in your dock, you want gallery in your dock, you can easily move stuff around just like that, and it's right there. Now one thing about the home screen that is different, the Google search bar is up here at the top. It cannot be removed. You see I'm pressing and holding it right now. It can't be removed, but it's a nice useful tool where I can jump in here and I can see all the stuff. I was reading about Conrad Murray earlier, so I can come in here and go to PhoneDog Aaron, for example. Actually, let's do Aaron Baker. So I'm searching for myself. I'm actually going to do my own Google search so you can see Aaron Baker, and it's loading. You can see the status bar here. You can see the fact that it's loading. I can exit out, and then I can go in here to Aaron Baker PhoneDog, for example, and bring it right up as a Google search. So it's quick and easy. It works really well, and I've been pleased with the integration of it into the platform. So let's take a look at Maps as well while we're in here, because there are some changes to it also. You can see down here more buttons at the bottom. You've got search, you've got directions, you've got, looks like my location, you've got layers, and I can come over here to settings and change even more. So it's showing me uptown right now in the office. And this is one thing, and I pointed this out on Windows Phone as well. So the average consumer, somebody that's new to this, walks in, they're like, what in the world are all of these? Well, it's pretty clear and easy to kind of understand that that's probably, and that is not where I am. I don't know why it's loading that one up. But you can see it's pretty clear and easy to know that this is search. It's pretty clear and easy. This is something directionally related. This is probably, you know, my location or places near me, for example, but there's no text below it, or there's no option to really see what it is. So I think for people that are new to the platform, little things like that, that's where I'm like, okay, these user interfaces are really going to come in handy, because it you know, it's really going to show people the what's going on down here, and some of these buttons perhaps at the bottom where otherwise they wouldn't understand. So we'll back out of maps, but you can see some changes here, but still very fluid, very quick and easy to use. And of course I can pinpoint my location directly by clicking that button. So you can see, you know, but pinch to zoom, again, very responsive. I can flip it around and see the city like this, and I can zoom in as I'm doing that. So very quick and very easy to use. One thing I miss a lot about Android when I'm working with another platform, be it WebOS, Windows Phone, iOS, whatever it is, I really miss the maps. And same thing with Gmail as well. Great Gmail integration on this, and some improvements over here as well. First of all, you'll see, and PhoneDog at YouTube is obviously our YouTube account, but I don't have any emails with that. But you can see inbox here, my drafts, my sent, my start, and then I can show all labels. And then of course, if I had 5 or 6 emails accounts, I could easily jump between one or the other. But you see a change here where I can see, you know, send a new message, search, it looks like tags. Let's see what that one is. Labels, okay. And then I have refresh, and then down here I can do some changes as well. So we'll go into this one, for example, from Google Music. I'll show the pictures. So no real, you know, functionality differences, but you can see, you know, some changes, at least in terms of the aesthetic. If I had a picture for this person, it would bring up a picture. I can reply directly, or I can click here and reply all, or forward. And just like older versions of Android, it does stay at the top wherever I'm at in the email. So at any given time, I can scroll right there and access that without a problem. So I can go down through here and see Carolina Nightlife, for example, and do the same thing. So it's a quick, easy to use, you know, of course, again, great work and great integration with Google services. So, you know, if you're like me, you use Gmail as your backend for a lot of your email services, you want to pull up an email from 3 months ago or 3 years ago, it's pretty quick and easy to do it in the Gmail application. They've really made some improvements there. But again, you know, portrait to landscape transitions, while they have added some transitional effects, I'll show you here if it'll switch over for me. Let's see. Let's try this again. There we go. You can see it going from portrait to landscape mode. The transitions are improved. You can see the fact that they've got a nice little transitional animation there, but it seems like it's taking just a little bit too long to me. I mean, it's taking 3 to 4 seconds for this thing to really transition over, which is something I find particularly interesting. So you can see how long that's taking. It just seems a little bit too long to me. It goes back into portrait pretty quickly, but again, nice to see the transitions as well. So those are very, very cool. Let's do a quick camera test. Now this has a 5-megapixel camera, which to me, regardless of what you say about megapixels, I understand that megapixels aren't everything, but for a consumer, 5 megapixels just sounds less than 8 megapixels. So imagine 2 friends walking around with each other and saying, well, my phone has a 5-megapixel camera, well, mine has an 8-megapixel camera, in your face, you know, and you're thinking, yeah, megapixels don't mean everything, but still, it's pretty important. But I've been pretty disappointed, you know, anyway with the camera quality here. So we'll take a look here at the Samsung Double Time box, and we'll go ahead and take a picture. Now, one thing I do like, instant shutter or instant capture of the picture. So once I'm zoomed in, that's the picture you get when you hear that little beep. So instant picture taking once it's focused, and then I can come in here and see my pictures. And of course, I can message, I can Bluetooth it, I can Google Plus it, I can send it via Gmail, Facebook, or click on it and bring up the gallery, and you can see. So it's not a terrible picture by any means. In the 1080p video, if you want to see it, go to the YouTube channel or go to phonedog.com and take a look. And it's certainly, you know, you can see the text. It's reasonably clear, but a couple of things to keep in mind. We're under a pretty bright light, or a couple lights right now, and again, it just seems very grainy when zoomed in. So not the best picture in the world. If you're looking for a device with an absolutely fantastic camera, that's one area where I feel the Galaxy Nexus kind of falls short. That said, the 1080p video, kind of the same. The audio is very good, but I've had some issues with the video, so something to keep in mind. And of course, some minor changes up here. I can share it, I can message it, delete it, and I can see over here some of the additional screen stuff as well. And I can easily scroll between one and the other by going up and around and down through there. And there is the cat. You can see I was trying to take a picture as she was flipping, and yes, I work for PhoneDog and I have a cat. But you can see here, you know, again, a little bit grainy around her because she was in the process of moving. So little things like that where I'm like, they could have done a little bit better with the imaging. But easy to transition between camera, video camera, and then you have all your settings down here, camera settings, flash, scene mode, exposure, white balance, and more. So let's do it, and you'll notice that the buttons there kind of go out of the way when you're away from it. Now, one thing I do want to focus on, let me get the Captivate Glide so you can see this, the notification light, because I get asked a lot of questions about this, and I want you to see the notification lights. I'm going to go ahead and text something to this device. Let's say hi, just so you can see what it looks like. Then the notification light's been moved to the bottom of the device, so it appears right around here, as you can see. And what I really like, and let's let this focus in, it's a Nexus colored notification light. So you can see when it pops back up, it's going to have some blue, some purple, or blue, red, yellow, and green to it. So you can see it's a very colorful notification light. Let's get it even closer so you can see. How cool is that? Very cool little touch by Samsung. Really nice in the design department. And you know, kind of goes along with a nice curved aesthetic, the good look here. And I just thought that was kind of a neat little touch. So you can see when we open it up here and turn it on, you can see I have the message up here. Scroll it to the right, and then I can come down here and see Phone Dog Aaron. And of course, like I was saying in part 1, you just swipe it like that to remove the notification. So let's take a quick look at settings as well, because in this part 2 is going to run a little long because I want to cover all this stuff. But you can see that it's organized a little bit differently. Wireless and networks, device, personal, and system, although most of the stuff is kind of similar to what you've seen on previous Android versions. I think this one's particularly useful, data usage. So I can come in here and see mobile data turned on. I can set a limit as well. And so I can see here, you know, between November 29th and December 16th, I've used about 10.49 megabytes. So this is going to be really useful when you've owned the device for a couple of weeks or a couple of months. You can really kind of see your data usage, see what you need, and with, you know, now that we're in a tiered data world, you can see which usage plan is appropriate for you. So you could also turn it to where you set a limit, and once you get to, you know, 1 gigabyte, 2 gigabytes, 5 gigabytes, whatever, you can automatically have it shut off, which I think is pretty cool. So we'll go in here, for example, to display and take a look at the fonts and just some of the icon changes as well. You can change the font size, the brightness, you know, auto rotation, the pulse notification light, which I just showed you, and then accounts and sync. And this is something I wanted to point out because there's a heavy Google Plus integration. I feel like they're staking a lot of Google Plus on the Galaxy Nexus, because let's go to add an account, for example. We'll add another Google account, and we're going to sign in, and we'll do tips@phonedog.com, which I don't remember. Let me make sure I remember the password to this before I do this on camera, because I already have it. I've had it set up on my computer for some time. But let's see here if I can get it to sign in. So we're going to get signing in. This can take a few minutes, and I've had it hang up a couple of times on the sign-in screen. So I don't know if that's just an early software issue with 4.0.1 or what, but we'll see here. Signing in, it can take a few minutes, but you're going to see once it gets signed in and registered, you're going to see it offer you Google Plus right there. Join Google Plus. So I can either join it with tips@phonedog.com, or I can say not now, but you can just see how quick and how easy it is. And of course, I can enable purchases, so I'm going to go ahead and skip that. And then the account sign-in is successful, and then here's all the stuff I can sync if I wanted to. So I'm going to go ahead and back out of that. Even though it's already enabled, I can come in here and go ahead and remove the account, and it's that easy. And also gone is the ability, you know, one time, you know, let's say you set up a Gmail account on your device, and it becomes the primary Gmail account. Well, you either don't want it or you don't use it, but you've got to keep it, or you can totally wipe the device. Not the problem here anymore, because you can delete all your Gmail accounts. It'll just prompt you to set up a backup one, so you don't have to worry about, you know, not being able, or setting up an initial account and then having issues. So I can come in here and delete every one of these accounts if I want to, which is something you couldn't do on older versions of Android. So I can remove that, and so I have no more Gmail accounts in the device. And it should have prompted me actually with a little notification, an exclamation point up top that said, you know, enable a backup Google account. But that's how you do that, and it's pretty easy. And I like that touch because, you know, sometimes we just set up a Google account. I'll set up Old Man McTweety, and then when I finish filming, I want to set up my personal accounts, but I want to get rid of Old Man McTweety. Well, once it's set up, you know, you couldn't do that, so I had to wipe it in Gingerbread. So very cool little touch there. Let's take a look at Quadrant Standard here and see what we get on this device. I'll talk a little bit about call quality. Now, actually, call quality, this is one of the best devices I've worked with. I've made several test calls to people that I call on a daily basis, and actually 2 of the people were like, where are you calling from? That's the best noise, or best lack of noise, rather, I've heard ever, you know, in the times that you worked with phones. So very impressed with the noise cancellation on this handset. Very good job to Samsung on that. Apparently there's no noise. I was traveling down the interstate. I even opened the windows at one point, and they said they could only hear minimal noise. So that's pretty impressive. Sound quality is very good. Speakerphone needs some work. It's not as loud as it could be, and hopefully I'll have some time at the very end here as soon as we go through Quadrant Standard, and I'll show you what we're dealing with. But speakerphone quality could be better, and you know, overall, Like I said, call quality's been pretty good. I've taken it to dead AT&T and dead T-Mobile zone, and it does connect, though the calls are so choppy that I wasn't able to actually use those effectively. We'll take a look at Quadrant Standard, and of course, take this score with a grain of salt, because one, I don't think Quadrant Standard is optimized yet for ice cream sandwich, and two, so you can see 1,603. So very much take that with a grain of salt. That is not indicative of performance, but I wanted to show you, just out of the gate, what Quadrant Standard looked like. I feel like it's not optimized for ice cream sandwich just yet. Now we're actually going to skip the speed test, and I'll tell you why. Because AT&T and T-Mobile both support HSPA Plus on this device, or this device supports HSPA Plus on both carriers. But I want to focus on one last thing here, so you can take a look. And this is the dialer application. You can see some changes here to the numbers. You can see down here big buttons with delete, with call, and then with search, and with your on-screen buttons. And then over here I can see this is Phone Dog Aaron, and I can come in here and see my test. If this, if I hadn't deleted the Google account, my picture would show up, Phone Dog Aaron would show up, and it shows missed call, and then I can message directly or call back, and I can scroll back over through there, and then of course over here I would have all my contacts if I hadn't deleted Old Man McTweety. So we're going to go ahead and dial up 611, so you can see here, and this is what it looks like. So if I had that picture again, it would show a big picture, shows dialing, got a nice big end button, and then down here I have dial pad, speaker, mute, pause, and then add a contact. So take a listen to the speakerphone. Come on, T-Mobile. Let's do this. Come on.
T-Mobile, America's largest 4G network.
So you get the idea. It sounds decent right here because there's no noise in the office. We're in a very quiet area. But when you're out in the grocery store, I did find that it was, even at the loudest volume, it was too quiet to be heard. Battery life, 1,750 milliamp hour battery. I find that it drains from 100 to about 80% really quickly. And for me, at least with my unit, it seems to perform pretty well from 80% all the way down to when it dies. So it seems like a decent one with moderate use. I made it through a day, but I was cutting it close. With anything more than moderate use, some phone calls. At one point, I think I did a 14-minute phone call, some text messages, and downloaded a few apps, and with a screen set to minimal brightness, and I lost 20% pretty quickly. So something to keep in mind. It's not the best battery device, or not the best device when it comes to battery, and I imagine the LTE one isn't going to be much better because they do increase it to 1,850 milliamp hours on the Verizon version, but LTE is a power hog, and my assumption is it's going to be worse. So all in all, it's a really good device. It is a flagship. I'm a little curious as to why they didn't do an Exynos processor. So TI OMAP is a decent processor. It seems to perform relatively well. I've seen some lag, some hang-ups, nothing too crazy by any means. But I have seen, a little bit of lag. So I'm like, I wish they put an Exynos processor. I'm a little disappointed, or a bit disappointed in the camera on this device. 5-megapixel camera on a flagship device. That's a little disappointing. So I wish they had gone, a little bit better in that department. But still, a good device. A device that's easily hackable, that can be rooted pretty easily, that has decent specs, an awesome screen, and is packing Android 4.0. Now, is this consumer friendly? I think Ice Cream Sandwich actually takes a step back in the consumer ease of use department. But that said, the people that are watching this video are going to be very excited about this, but this is coming to retail and coming to the largest carrier in the United States. So my hope is that, my hope was rather that it would be a little bit easier to use. I think it's a little bit hard for the average consumer, so it's going to be interesting to see how Verizon markets this device against some easier to use devices like the Resound and the Droid Razr. But still, all around impressive device, and I'm excited to see it coming to Verizon. Much more coverage to come on the Samsung Galaxy Nexus on PhoneDog.com. Keep it locked on our Facebook page. Be sure to like us, Facebook.com/PhoneDog for more coverage on the Galaxy Nexus. And hey, hit me up on Twitter with questions. Let me know you have a question about this device. You think I'm wrong. You think this is an easy to use device. If you've played with it, let me know. PhoneDog_Aaron on Twitter or on Facebook at Facebook.com/PhoneDogAB. Thanks so much for watching. Sorry for the long part 2, but hey, it's a Galaxy Nexus. We're all pretty excited about this, and I think you'll be okay with it. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, we'll see you next time.